I knew something was wrong. I knew this was something different than some of the common pregnancy discomforts that someone might feel. But when I went to the hospital at first, my concerns were initially dismissed as muscle cramps or fatigue, really just kind of the run-of-the-mill, pregnancy discomfort. And like I said, I had been pregnant before. I'd carried a set of twins. I knew that this was different. I was finally taken for an ultrasound, and that ultrasound uncovered a 9-centimeter mass on my kidney. I think that if I hadn't been insistent that we elevate what we were doing in that initial instance, I could have been sent home with what was, an internal bleed and a large mass, which ultimately turned out to be kidney cancer. And then once we found out that I had this problem, I was, immediately admitted. So it went from, we're sending you home, to this really big emergency. And then it turned into, we want to induce you tomorrow. And as I said, I had been pregnant before and had experience with a set of twins. So I knew that there were some risks with delivering at 34 weeks. And I wanted to do everything I could for my unborn daughter, to stay pregnant and to not be induced right away. And so we had several discussions. My initial care team was really insistent that I be delivered immediately, but we were able to bring some other doctors on board and have some interdisciplinary meetings. And ultimately, I was able to stay in the hospital 2 weeks before we did the induction and then remove my kidney. The first thing is find out as much as you can about your diagnosis. Find out as much as you can about your illness. Find out what the treatment options are. Find out what the side effects of each treatment option are. Really try to understand everything you can. And I would encourage patients to participate in genetic testing. Find out anything you can about the specific type of cancer that you have, because the more knowledge you have and the more understanding you have about what it is, the better you can treat it. Another thing I think that is really important is finding the right doctor and the right team of doctors. There are so many great doctors out there, but a great doctor isn't necessarily the right doctor. Every patient has different goals. Every patient has different risk tolerance. We are individuals being treated in a field that loves data, but, individual preferences are really important, and you need to find a physician that's willing to listen to you and to what you want to do, and then build a team around that. For translocation patients, there haven't been really a lot of studies. There's not a lot of data, and I think historically, the treatment options have not been great. So I think it's really important to find someone that has some experience with translocation patients and knows the challenges involved and is willing to be creative, because when there is really nothing to use as a starting point, you have to exhaust and look into every option possible. And as I mentioned, each patient is different. I really wanted to pursue a surgical intervention that was not necessarily part of the guidelines or is not necessarily used very often, but I felt it was the right decision for me. And I had to find doctors that understood that and were, willing to try something a little bit different. I think the first thing that I did after my diagnosis was, dig into this. What is this? What does this mean? The thing that I found the most inspiring was reading other patient stories, because I realized that I wasn't alone. While there's not many young women diagnosed with kidney cancer, the demographic tends to be older and male. There certainly are patients like me out there, and I was inspired by all those stories, and I wanted to share my story as well to inspire some patients as well, or inspire new patients, because I found it so helpful that I wanted to give in the same way. A couple ways in which others have been an advocate for me are, first, the surgeon that did my liver section was certainly an advocate for me, Dr. Eric Shadi. took my case to the tumor board and said, I think we have a great candidate for a liver resection. Liver resections are not typically used as treatment for kidney cancer patients, but he was very confident that I was a good fit for this type of surgical intervention. I really appreciated him going above and beyond to share his thoughts on why this could be successful for me. And as it turns out, it was. In addition to that, I think I had several family members that placed calls for me. I received a first opinion, a second opinion, and continued to go on to find more opinions. And I had family that was making those calls and scheduling those appointments so that I could go and meet with all those other physicians to get more input on my care. So that was great. I think the best thing that a caregiver could do first is to listen, because there's a lot going through cancer patients' minds. There's ups and downs, and there's some days you're feeling, okay, I got this, it's under control, we can beat this, and there's other times where you're scrambling to find another solution, or you know that your prognosis can change at any time. I think it's important for caregivers to listen to all that and to try to take that in, and at the same time be an active listener and participate and learn as much as they can about the challenges and the ups and downs and what the options are. Together, you can continue the journey and the fight. Being your best advocate means finding individualized treatment in a field that's dominated by data. I think the best way to move forward is to find out what works best for you as a patient and to uncover the treatment options that work best for you. I not only had a second or a third opinion, but an eighth opinion. So I wanted to uncover every piece of information that there was so that I could figure out what the best approach for myself would be.